What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man. Yes, I'm back here again. And this is my discussion slash review of New Amsterdam Season 2, Episode 6, man. And it was a good episode. It was very emotional, but it was a very good episode. And it really restored your faith if you're a religious person, man. And this episode really done that. And I enjoyed it. I found it very, very, very good. So let's dive right into the episode, man. We started off and we see Bloom coming into the ER, and she's taking over because she's on day shift and the other chick is on the night shift, and the ER is completely empty. I mean, like there's nobody, and that's very rare for New Amsterdam to not have anybody in the ER. And that's what I enjoyed about this episode because it started off like way different than what I expected, and then Bloom comes in and she was like, "Are you okay with this like this?" She's like, "Yeah." "You sure you don't need people in here since I know you're such a masochist?" And she's like, "No, I'm fine." So she gets to she goes to the break room to get some coffee because she's kind of struggling, maybe without having anybody there and dealing with the pain in her leg. So not having patients kind of just lets her focus on the pain and not focus on the patient since there's nobody there for her to focus on. So she was struggling with the pain in her leg, and she was fixing coffee, reading some pamphlets, like some books that she had marked, and then all of a sudden they're bum rushed with people. They're bum rushed with people from an accident, and that's what this whole story shifted, man. Okay, so we have all of these women coming in with prior injuries as well as injuries from the car crash. And comes to find out that like they couldn't get the care they needed because the hospital that they were close to was shut down and everything was too far away, and it was just so many different circumstances that kept them from going to the hospital. And the lady that was driving the van crashed the van on purpose because she felt that with her renting the van, they had insurance. They had like a coverage insurance for everything, a supplementary insurance for the people in the thing. They paid the $7.50 extra, so she covered all her bases for someone that just wrecked a van full of people. But I understand why she done it as well, because sometimes, man, I'm with the lady. Sometimes you pray for God to move his hand, but sometimes he wants you to act as well. I mean, I'm not saying he wanted her to go and crash this this van, but I mean, he wants you to act. So she took it upon herself and she acted and got all of the people in the crash. No one died, but they were all pretty much hurt, and they had all major prior injuries before coming, major problems, and they all got seen with the best care because of the insurance that was coverage on the van. So we had one lady that needed a kidney, one lady had diabetes, one lady was having seizures, one lady had to have open heart surgery. There was a lot of stuff, and we get introduced to the niece. This is kind of where the episode also took another turn for me. We get introduced to the niece, and she's pregnant, and she wants to have an abortion. And Iggy had to ask her, is she okay with that, and does she know what abortion mean and everything? Because as we can tell, she has Down syndrome. And Iggy was asking her, she was like, "Yeah, I know what it means and everything." And that's where the episode kind of changed for me because I'm not a woman, so I don't know how any other woman would feel like that. But I feel like it's such a hard thing because I don't feel like she had to have the abortion. I felt like she could have the baby and then just give it up if she wanted to, but I felt like she didn't have to have the abortion. But I guess being in her, you'd have to be in her shoes to really understand where she's coming from. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, I was only going to touch on it briefly and move on because that's something I don't want to go into. So then we have the police coming to question the lady that wrecked the van because they felt like it was not an accident, that she caused the van to crash intentionally. So after that, they end up taking her away, and she done told Max, that Max guessed it and figured it out, and him and Bloom pretty much figured it out together, that the van was crashed on purpose. But Max talked to her, and she was like, well, she felt bad, but like she felt like that was the only way these people could get the help that they needed. And the police came to take her away. As they were leaving the hospital, she has a seizure. I want to say a seizure, or she blacked out or something. And that comes to find out that she has a type of, what does she have? A type of type of diabetes, I think, like brittle diabetes or something like that. And now we all know that she crashed the van on purpose, but Max, covering for her and not wanting her to go to jail, tells the police that her brittle diabetes could also be the reason that she crashed the van. She could have blacked out behind the wheel. I mean, we know that's not the case, but it was smooth the way that they did it, and I understand why they done it. Then we have Reynolds doing the open heart surgery on another one of the patients, and the lady was singing, and Dr. Duke was feeling it because his mom used to sing that song, and Reynolds was not having it. And we find out why he was so adamant about Dr. Duke focusing on the surgery and everything, because it was going to be a major surgery, but also because he's kind of estranged with his mother right now. So the lady singing and reminiscent of some songs that his mother used to sing and everything, it was kind of hard for him to focus on the surgery, and he needed to focus on the surgery because that surgery, wow, it was that whole scene was nice when they were doing the whole surgery and everything, and like him and Dr. Duke had to team up right there at the end because the clock had ran out of time and everything. The Dr. Duke was like done, so that was a nice scene. But that's what I enjoyed about this episode, because it was very emotional, but everything that we kind of had with the turmoil about this episode kind of got resolved at the end. We also have, like in the background, we have Max and Dr. Sharp kind of not seeing eye to eye, and Max not wanting to hear anything she has to say, because as we found out this episode, Max is still grieving. We didn't find that out until like the very end of this episode, but Max is still heavily grieving. I mean, bad, because the spot where we see George's blood on the carpet, all he did was put another carpet on top of it and just left the blood there. Sharp sent over a cleaning company to help clean the apartment, and he didn't want them in there because he's not handling his grief like he's supposed to. And that's the sad thing. But I'm hoping, I understand why he's doing that, because he has a daughter out of this, but I'm hoping he kind of eases his way into it, man. And I'm kind of glad that him and Sharp are kind of back on a good term basis, because them not being good friends anymore, it was just ruining the whole atmosphere of the show for me. We also have Iggy this episode talking about an adoption, but we don't see his husband anywhere in this take, and I don't know if that maybe his husband's not really feeling another adoption, or is this just Iggy pushing this himself? I don't know. Then we have VJ and Sharp teaming up to get these patients to give one of the sisters a kidney, because they wasn't feeling it at all. She was like, no, I'm not giving her a kidney. Well, I ain't asked for your kidney anyway. And she was like, well, I'll give it to you if you ask. So that whole back and forth. Then we got to see VJ was like, talk to the hand, and how about a little RSPECT? So it was fun to see VJ and Sharp having that moment as well. That's why I said this episode was very enjoyable, and towards the end, it wrapped up everything that we had and all of the conflict that was taking place. And I really enjoyed this episode, and it was a nice episode, and it restored your faith, if you get what I'm saying, because everything that happened, it was all very emotional and everything. And we even had the aunt ready to tell the niece, you're not having this abortion, but at the end she kind of just gave in and was like, I'll be there for you, because the niece was afraid that she would leave her. See, it was so good. Everything got resolved at the end of this episode, and I'm okay with that, man. I think that's pretty much everything. We see Reynolds at the end kind of calling his mom, kind of handling everything that he was dealing with, and we see Iggy at the adoption agency by himself, like I said. And that's how everything ends, man. And like I said, it was a nice emotional episode. But that's pretty much everything, man. This is your boy, Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash that like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that New Amsterdam always brings the emotions, man. Peace out, man.